Hello, hello, hello. A very warm welcome to you
To you
wherever
wherever
in the
in the
world you
world.
are. I'm Sandra Champlain. I'm the host of We Don't Die Radio, also the new show on iHeartRadio called Shades of the Afterlife. And we want to welcome you to just an hour talk with Scott. Our friend Scott Milligan and I have been online for the better part of a year now, ever since COVID struck the planet, spreading some love and spirituality and all kinds of good things on Mondays on our weekly class on trance in the altered states, and on Fridays for his demonstration of trance mediumship. And we thought that this time would be great to just share something free, some inspiration, some words from Scott, from his past, and who knows, wherever the spirit leads him to go. So whether you're a friend watching right now on Zoom, or if you're watching right now on Facebook, let me say that again, or if you're a friend watching us on YouTube, we really want to welcome you. Scott has been sitting on behalf of the spirit world for the better part of 24 years. He and I met 4.5 years ago, something like that, and his specialty form of mediumship I had never heard about, and it has quickly changed my life and given just one of the best reasons that we can comfortably believe in the afterlife, which of course everything we do, the foundation of it is we've been through grief. And when we can get an understanding of the afterlife and that our loved ones are real and they live on, although it doesn't take away the pain of grief, I tell you, it sure does help. So I'm going to turn this over to my dearest friend, Scott. Hello, Scott.
Hello, Sandra, and thank you for those kind words. And thank you to all of you who are joining me wherever you are in the world. And I hope that you are safe, you are well, and you are feeling comfortable in your unfoldment and your journey throughout this life. I wanted to really share with you some memories which have brought me so much joy, but I also want to reassure all of you who may be unfolding your gifts, but to allow the power to find you and for you to feel comfortable sitting within it. Now, over the past couple of weeks, I've been sharing with you sitting in the power, sitting in a healing meditation, and we are going to wrap both streams together at some point during this talk. But today I've been walking back within my memories and bringing a lot of happiness to my soul by remembering a wonderful man, a man who I owe so much to, because without his help, without his sharing of knowledge, I don't think I will be here today talking to you. My life would have taken a different path. Now, many of you know that I have sat with some extraordinary people, and we have seen within the development extraordinary things that have moved us from believing to knowing. But some people seem to be the unsung heroes, the people who are behind enabling people like myself to do what I can do and continue to grow and hopefully heal the hearts of those who are in need. The gentleman I want to touch today is John Austin. Some of you may be familiar with that name. Some of you may have been lucky enough to have touched his hand, depending on where you may have met him before he made his transition to the greater world of spirit in 2011. John Austin was an ordinary man with a wife and 2 children. His children were called Howard and John, which was always fun when I would meet John and then John Jr., because I'll shout out John and both of them would turn and go, yes. And you're like, oh, that one. So John was a laborer. He wasn't educated in spiritualism. His son was going places. Howard was an exceptionally good athlete. He had everything going for him. And then all of a sudden, John's world was absolutely shattered. Howard stepped onto a train with his best friend and girlfriend and started his journey back home. And sadly, from the moment he stepped on to the moment that John got the message that there was a train crash and sadly, that Howard, the girlfriend and best friend, transitioned to the higher side of life. I cannot even begin to imagine that having a loved one that transitions in that way, especially a son, especially a child, going to the greater world, how can one wash their face in the morning and rise? John couldn't. John went into the great depths of despair. And in his moments of despair, he challenged God and said, if there is a heaven, if this was your intent, if this was your will, then you are cruel. And he started to investigate other possibilities. He started to read a book called Edge of the Etheric by Arthur Finlay, a very popular book that seems to ingrain itself very deep within spiritualism. And in that book gave him a thought. Should he try and contact his son, even though the church has said, if they are dead, leave them be? He denied that and continued to sit and to see what was possible. He started to use a very common form of communication, which is called table tilting, by placing his hand upon a table with his wife, Geraldine, to see if it was possible that his son was able to communicate. During the times where it seemed nothing was happening, him and his wife would just sit there and say, well, surely he must be there. Where is he? Over the passing of time, the table started to respond, and the table responded in such a way that convinced him that there was an intelligence there, what seemed to be replicating his son. He challenged the intelligence and said, if this is my son, tell me something only I would know. And the table started to spell a memory only John and his son Howard would know, which moved him into investigation. But during these times of this joy of knowing, that grief, the serpent that grips us, gripped John this day, and he sat there and he wept. And he shouted, Howard, if you can hear me, I need you now. Howard, and as he said that, a wooden dish that Howard had made at school lifted from the mantelpiece and floated across the room and landed next to him. From that moment, John said, I will never question ever again. I know you are there. And from that moment, phenomena started to take place. The table started to move in such a way that it would hover off the ground and started floating towards the ceiling. Him and his wife would enjoy many evenings of just sitting and being in the company of their son. Then one day that they started to realize that the communication was coming through so fast, they decided to use a reel-to-reel recorder so they can record the information what was being given. So you would hear Geraldine saying, is there anyone there? The table would respond and she would say, the table's responded, yes. And very quickly they realized that their son played a significant part in this communication. A lady traveled from Cardiff to have a sit-in because her son has also transitioned. John never took a penny for what he was about to take place. They would just sit to support anyone who was grieving. There was his wife, Geraldine, John, and this lovely lady, and they started their sit-in. The table responded very quickly, and Geraldine identified that this was her son talking, Howard. She said, is this you boys? And the table responded, yes. And you heard her on the tape recorder say, the table said yes. Then, as things progressed on that sit-in, the cat walked in. You heard Geraldine say, be careful of the cat. The table has responded yes. At the end of the sit-in, the lady that had entered the room was so full of joy But as they were drinking their cup of tea and munching on their sandwiches, the lady said, "I've never heard my voice back on the tape. Can I hear it, please?" So John said, "Yes, of course." And as he rewound the reel and played it again, you heard Geraldine saying, "Is that you boys?" And in her son's own voice, captured on a tape recorder as electronic voice phenomena, "Yes, Mum, I'm here." And when it got to the point when they said, "Be careful of the cat," you heard Howard's voice sternly say, "I won't hurt Blackie," which was the name of the cat. Could you imagine, if you will, having a form of phenomena, but then having your son's or daughter or your husband and your wife's voice talk back to you and share memories with you? And John started to realize that they had a power there, that he himself wanted to investigate and trying to prove and help people who are grieving. He would go to demonstrations and he would hold a tape recorder with a handkerchief over the top where he would record the sit-in. You would hear the medium saying, "I have a young lad here who wants to talk to his mother." And John would play back the recording and you would hear the son talking to the Oriental guide, which was relaying it to the medium. "There she is, she's in red. I would like to talk to the lady over there. I have your son." He had such a unique ability and unique power, only started to manifest truly when he had a sit-in with an independent direct voice medium by the name of Leslie Flint. If you ever got the opportunity to sit with Leslie Flint, you paid £2.50 for your sit-in. You would sit in a very small room at 140 Westbourne Terrace in London. You would sit there with strangers that over time will become your friends. John sat there with his wife and Leslie walked in. Leslie was very kind, very welcoming with his partner, Bram. Leslie would pop a sweet in his mouth and sit there while he was sucking on the sweet. And all of a sudden, the voices started to appear. Mickey, his main control, started to talk to everyone there and went to Geraldine and said, "You've got some power there." And she said, "Have I?" And Mickey turned around and said, "Yes, you have. Hang on, I've got a boy here what's pushing forward." And all of a sudden, the voice, "Mum, Mum, it's Howard." Not, "I have a boy here who passed in a train crash." The voice came out, "Mum, Mum, it's Howard." You heard Geraldine gasp and say, "Oh, Howard, it's so lovely to talk to you." You hear John saying, "I can't catch my breath. This is quite overwhelming. I didn't realize." And Howard spoke for almost 15 minutes. But as he spoke, John said, "Who have you got there with you, son?" And then all of a sudden, the girlfriend started to speak. "Mum's having terrible times at the moment. Please send her my love." Geraldine said, "Of course I will. I've tried talking to her already, but she doesn't want to know." "Try again," the voice said. Then all of a sudden, another voice appeared, and it was Howard again saying, "Dad, they're talking about Brighton. They're talking about you going to Brighton." And John said, "You know about Brighton because that's where the train crashed." And he said, "No, let's talk about you going to Brighton." John was relocated very shortly afterwards, and he moved to the outskirts of Brighton. And very shortly afterwards, that Leslie Flint moved to Princes Street in Hove, which was on the outskirts of Brighton, 4 streets away from John, where they started to build their friendship. And John was able to witness the extending phenomena. But as the progression came, John was developing beautifully, but then came a young man who had the potential much stronger. And John said, "The spirit world deserves a voice, and you are stronger than mine." John put his development on hold to put all his efforts in developing this young man by the name of Colin. It's outstanding, really, when you think about it, that someone who had a unique ability said, I'm going to stop my ability to focus on you because the spirit world deserve the strongest voice. Someone who does this selfless act to allow someone else to experience the wonderful acceleration of their development. Colin's development was rapid. It was rapid because it took 21 weeks, 21 hours until the trumpets lifted and the materialization happened. The reason it took so quick and took hold is that John and Geraldine had built the power for 40 years that they had sat developing. They created the harmony so that Colin was able to step into the circle and begin the development straight away. Would you yourself be prepared to have the experiences of the unfoldment to step to one side for a stronger voice? This is the true test of spirituality. The reason I'm sharing this story with you is that we are reminded at this time that circumstances with the coronavirus has caused our circles to change. Our churches, our demonstrations have become digitalized and now immortalized forever. And now we are able to touch the lives of many more. So mediumship now has started to change, but our progression has changed because we have done a lot of self-reflection whilst we haven't been able to hold the hands of our circles. I shared this story about John because John was the circle leader. He listened to the spirit world and shared with the living. He enabled the medium to find its own way. As a tutor, we try and encourage you, but we can't make you the medium. You are born with it. You have already started to touch the hem. The power is there, and we are just there to encourage you to relax, but listen to the spirit world first. So that teaching that he gave Colin, he also gave to me. Sit in the chair, my boy. Sit with our friends and work. As a young man, I would say to him, how do you want me? What do I need to do? And he would respond, you're the medium, you tell me. To make you laugh, to show you how extraordinary he was, but also how focused he was as he was coming into his 80th year of walking this earth. He pulled out a wooden chair and he said, sit down and stay still for an hour and a half. So I'd sit there with my eyes closed and I was gently fall asleep, and he said, right, come back. And because my head had moved, he'd say, stand up, now sit back down and do it again until you can master the stillness for an hour and a half. What he used to do was sit me there and then go off and make himself a cup of tea, and I would open my eyes and stretch and then sit back down and close my eyes, and he walked back in. He said, you've moved. And the reason he knew how he moved is that someone in the spirit world had told him while he was in the kitchen. So he came back in, had a sip of his tea, start again. After a certain period of time, over 5 hours, I was able to hold myself in such a way, but I achieved that hour and a half. And I was like, woohoo! And then all of a sudden he got out another wooden chair with the legs slightly lopsided so you would sit crooked. And he said, now do it again. And I said to him, why are you doing this? And he said, it's very simply, if you are to demonstrate and go beyond these four walls, you have to work with the chair that they provide you. I'm making you aware that you can sit in any chair, in any circumstances, because you blend with our friends and with the power, and you should be able to work. So for me, John was Mr. Miyagi. He gave you ideas, not fully telling you why, but you just had to follow. And today of all days, for some reason, he's been very much on my mind. And I've asked the spirit world, what do I need to do with you tonight? And very simply, I've been told to trust. So I place my hands once again into the person that led me from believing to knowing. And now I want to lead you into the power, not knowing where it will go, but allowing the healing balm to move within you and through you. So I'm going to just do a nod at Sandra because we haven't got much time, just so that we can get the music played and I can lead you into a form of sitting for the power with a healing balm. So find a comfortable space as the music comes to find you. Be safe in what you are doing and close your eyes. As your eyes close and you focus now on the inner world, allowing my voice and my thoughts to find you wherever you may be, knowing that the natural breath, the natural rise and fall will bring you a sense of peace. As these words meet you, accept them as a friend. But what else do you hear as the music touches you? Like one stream of thought that flows through your being. Allowing any thought to come and go, like the breath of the wind that finds its voice through the branches of a tree. As your hands rest, give your body the permission it needs to relax. Relaxing away from the aches and pains of life. As your body softens, your thoughts become lighter and will slowly fade to their place of rest. But within the darkness of your mind, we will find that peace. As the invisible world has gently knocked upon our consciousness, we begin to open our hearts. Like the unfolding of the petals of the most beautiful flower. As the mind begins to open, the heart begins to overflow. I would like you to imagine, if you will, a simple door that forms in front of you. A door that is old, But as you walk towards this door, it can open by itself. Moving you from the side of distractions into a place of peace. But if you can imagine yourself walking through the door and entering a very simple church. A church, a place of peace, where prayers are offered and answers are shared. As your footsteps echo off the walls, find now a comfortable place, a sacred space where you can rest, resting from those who hold you and falling in the arms who love you. But as you take this seat, sinking into your chair, as the gentle fragrance of incense and the colours of the stained glass just begins to soothe you. You can offer your prayer as the words will be heard. Offer your thoughts now. As those who love you will listen. Those who care for you will hold and share their love. For every word, for every sentence is received by the waves upon the shore, gently kiss the golden sand to bring peace. Those who love you, they may respond to your thoughts. Come, sit, or hold you gently. So lose yourself in this moment. As these words soften and begin to fade fading like the stars of old, just for a moment. these words must come to find you. As the sands of time slip away, for every thought that you have thought and shared has been touched and blessed by the invisible minds of others. As the road of unfoldment rises to meet you, as the inner world begins to stir and reach out into your consciousness, know at this time that you are loved. As you have stood still for a moment, a healing balm, a healing blessing rains upon you. Those who you love are also touched with this thought, so that they can find the strength to become well. They can find the peace to continue to smile. You have given a choice to sit at this time in the unseen world, wish to share a gift with you, a gift of love, in the knowledge that you are not alone. And as the time fades, we are reminded of distractions. As the stream of my thoughts touch you, begin to deepen your breath, allowing the image, thoughts and feelings to fade like the stars in the morning sun. As you begin to deepen your breath further, move your fingers and your toes, bringing life back into your being. And as you take a deep breath in, as you breathe out, let go. Let go of any thoughts that may imprison you. And when you are ready, open your eyes and take this moment to accept the miracle of who you are. As you were born to leave footprints, to touch the hands of many, and enrich this beautiful world. Never hide from it, as the world will miss you. But as we draw breath now in the knowledge that the seeds of your unfoldment are starting to show life, even though I must correct my statement that this was more of a meditation of me guiding you into a church that is within you, as the true sitting for the power is not of distractions, but becoming one with all, but in this form of meditation, that you can find who walks with you, the true teachers, ambassadors of the Spirit. For if you are sensitive to thought, allow those thoughts to develop you. And if you can hear the voice and they have led you to that path, take others on this journey. But if you have knocked on the door of eternity and feel there has been no answer, then reach out to people here and let me remind you that you are loved. As you progress, remember the words of a gentleman that has carved his name deep within my heart, that you sit for the Spirit. If you agree to meet them, then meet them. If you agree to walk with them, walk with them. But never allow our friends to wait, and never turn your back on them. As my friend in the spirit world reminds me now, that the greatest lie in this world is death. It has been miswritten, misspoken, misunderstood. My friend reminds me now to ask you, what were you before you were born? Did you fear your birth? So why should you fear your death? You were born to this world, and you will be born again to the greater world. If you feel you will have lost someone, the only thing we truly lose is our voice. Love needs no voice at all. Love is the language of our souls. So therefore, sit in your church and allow the love to illuminate the path and remove all distractions and doubts, so that you can sit with those who love you, those who guide you, and those who will welcome you when it is our time. So those who are developing, remember, development can be confusing if you make it confusing. How confusing must it be just to sit still and close your eyes and build an altar of peace and listen and welcome. So I hope you've enjoyed this buffet of thoughts. And thank you for making me remember the awesomeness of John Austin, who in his own way, I call a little bugger, because he put so much pressure in the sense of making sure that you put the spirit world first and you sit to heal the hearts. I want to thank Sandra for allowing these events to occur. I'd like to thank each of you for joining me wherever you are in the Facebook world or Zoom, and those who have joined me on my Mediumistic Facebook page and joined Sandra on the We Don't Die page. How it's become a gentle drop of thought that has now created such a ripple, it has touched the hearts of many. So thank you guys, and thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, Scott. And thank you for all that are watching, whether you're watching live or watching the replay. We're glad you're here. In the section below, I have a link to wedon'tdie.com. That's our home base. We have a Monday course with Scott every Monday. We've been doing for quite a while. You can jump in on that. Also, we do Friday demonstrations of trance mediumship with Scott. We've got our free Sunday gathering. There's a whole lot more. And then also there's a link there if you want to check out his new Facebook page, which has got all kinds of good stuff. And of course, it's free, and you can follow him along on the journey. So with that, we really want to thank you for being here. Take some time whenever you can just to acknowledge this, what seems to be empty space around you, but don't be fooled by it. in that is vibrating many things, little things like our mobile phones and TVs and wireless signals, but energy cannot be destroyed and our loved ones continue on. So they are only a breath away. So just remember that. You might feel very much alone, but you're not. You've got an invisible cheering squad around you. And someday, but not too soon, you will meet again and they will be there to welcome you home. So with that, everyone, thank you, thank you, thank you. And of course, a big thank you to our friend Scott for being here. And you never know when we're going to pop up again for one of these. So be on the lookout. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.